Hello, everybody. Are we ready to start fighting against Citizens United? Yeah. Well, we all know why it's bad. I'll just say that we all know that money in politics has been a problem since long before Citizens United. It was not exactly a bed of roses before that. The California Clean Money Campaign, my organization, has been working with Common Cause and League of Women Voters and lots of groups for over 10 years on the problems of money in politics. But Citizens United just made it a whole lot worse by unleashing unlimited corporate spending on campaigns. And when you look at some of the numbers, you've already heard some of the numbers, but they're just staggering. Over $1 billion was spent nationally by super PACs in the last election, over $1 billion. Over $400 million of that was by these secretive nonprofits that never reveal who their donors are, so people had no idea who was attempting to buy their elections. And in California, the problems are even worse, because California, not only do we have to deal with all the candidates, but we have to deal with these very critical ballot measures that make all the difference in the world in the governance of our state. And last year alone, $425 million was spent in California ballot measures. Most of it by groups with good-sounding names like Stop Special Interest Money Now, which had nothing to do with stopping special interest money, of course, and the 2012 Auto Insurance Discounts Act, which sounds great, right? Until you know that it was put on by the chairman of Mercury Insurance, which not everybody knew. So there are many things that we have to do to solve the problem of big money in politics and Citizens United. We say three things we have to first focus on. We have to disclose who the funders are so people aren't fooled by them. We have to provide clean money public financing of campaigns eventually so that new people have a chance to run for office and voters aren't accountable to donors, they're accountable only to the voters. And then we have to amend the Constitution so that the Supreme Court can't mess all those things up. But I'm going to focus right now on the problem of disclosure, that first part. You've already heard Kathy and Mary Beth talk about the great progress that's being moved on the amend front, and that'd be fabulous if we can get clean by 2016. We're looking to try to pass a Disclose Act, the California Disclose Act, this year. And one of the good things about this last election, it's mostly bad things, all the huge amounts of secret money spent in the campaigns. But the good thing is that people now really get that we've got to stop these corporations and billionaires from being able to fool voters by hiding who they are behind these secretive dark money groups. And so now there are already 5 bills in the Sacramento legislature dealing with the problems of disclosure. That's how much interest there are. 4 of those bills are dealing with this nonprofit problem, these fake nonprofits like that Arizona nonprofit that spent $11 million of outside money trying to influence California's elections. That took a California Supreme Court case at the last minute. Common Cause was crucial in getting them to force them to do that along with the FPPC. A last minute Supreme Court case for them to reveal that the money came from 2 other nonprofits from out of state. They still don't know who the real billionaires probably or corporations behind that money were. They still don't know that. So there are 4 good bills in the legislature already by Senators Lou Correa, Ted Lieu, Leland Yee, and Assemblymember Roger Dickinson that would force these nonprofits to have to reveal their funding when they attempt to do things like this Arizona group did. And those are very important bills so that we have real reporting in California, and I urge all of you guys to support those bills. But we have to go a step further than that. We have to make sure that voters, when they see those political ads that they are deluged with, that on those ads they know exactly who is paying for those ads. That's what the California Disclose Act would do. And let me give you an example of how important this was. In 2010, there was a ballot measure called Proposition 26. Any of you remember what Prop 26 did? Probably not. It was a nice, secretive little one, but had an amazing effect. It required a 2/3 vote in the legislature or city councils before they could raise fees, even on polluters. Now, how often do we get 2/3 votes these days in our legislatures or city councils? Never. It passed with 52% of the vote because it was paid for in fine print, if you read the fine print, by a nice sounding group called Stop Hidden Taxes. Sounds good. Who could possibly be for hidden taxes? Not me. I'm not for hidden taxes. But what the change that we need, what the California Disclose Act will do, is it would have shown who the real funders of that proposition are. And what the California Disclose Act will do is require television ads to show their top 3 funders very clearly and prominently on a full screen, big font, black background, no distractions for a full 3 seconds. And for Prop 26 ads, it would have showed top funders for this ad for Yes on 26 are Chevron, the American Beverage Association, and Philip Morris. That's who Stop Hidden Taxes was. Raise your hands if you think that maybe 2% of the voters might have changed their vote if they knew that it wasn't Stop Hidden Taxes, but it was actually Chevron and Philip Morris. Exactly. That's the sort of difference that a real Disclose Act can make. So that's what the Disclose Act does. There's a new bill being introduced, being drafted right now. Last year's bill, AB 1648, authored by the awesome Assemblymember Julia Brownlee, who is now termed out in Congress, where she's going to be fighting for disclosure there. Made it through the Assembly, but it ran out of time to pass the Senate. There's a new bill now, SB 52, being drafted by Senators Mark Leno and Jerry Hill, 2 very strong authors. We're very happy to see. It will require those TV ads to show their top 3 funders and their logos. It will require radio ads. It will replace that speed reader guy. You know the speed reader guy? Paid for by Stop Hidden Taxes, a coalition of employers and taxpayers, blah, 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 blah. With the simple language in that case, top funders of this ad are Chevron, American Beverage Association, and Philip Morris. Full funding details at yeson26.com. That's what disclosure in radio ads would be. It would also replace it for those mass mailers that we all get in the mail. It would replace it for online ads, for billboards, the works. It would work for ballot measures, and it would work for independent expenditures. So this would change just about everything here in California, we believe, in terms of stopping voters from being fooled. It is going to have tremendous opposition. It's going to require a 2/3 vote to pass without having to go to the ballot. No surprise, the last bill, Disclose Act, AB 1648, was fiercely opposed by lobbyists from the California Chamber of Commerce and their friends with the manufacturers and pharmaceutical industries. No surprise at all, and that's part of the reason why it didn't get all the way through this last year. But there's also a huge and growing movement for the Disclose Act. Over 85,000 people signed petitions urging the legislature to pass the California Disclose Act. And there are petitions being circulated. Please sign those yourself for this new bill, SB 52. Our volunteers are out there with clipboards. Please sign those. And over 350 organizations and leaders endorsed the California Disclose Act, including AB 1640, including Los Angeles City Council last year. We're very happy. Councilmember Alarcon was a leader in that also. So we've got to build this coalition. We've got to fight. We're going to be building this here. When you see those clipboards, there's a column on the right-hand side that says March 16th kickoff. And we're having a big kickoff event at the UTLA headquarters on Wilshire Boulevard on March 16th from 2 to 4 p.m., where we're going to try to build as big of a crowd as possible, get as many co-sponsoring groups as possible, and invite the assembly members and senators who are co-authors of the bill to come and speak and get people active. If you can join us at that kickoff on Saturday, March 16th, please do. 2 to 4 p.m., March 16th. Yeah, mark that down. If you circle yes on the petitions when you sign it, then we'll send you an email, we'll give you a reminder of when that is. There's also flyers that you can get either from the table or from our volunteers that will have the information on it there. So we've got a real fight here for the California Disclose Act. Lauren, how much? Okay, just checking. So we've got a real fight on our hands. This is the first step because disclosure in itself isn't everything. Obviously, we've got to get public financing campaigns. We've got to amend the Constitution. We have to fix it. But it's a really crucial first step, and it's key for a couple of different reasons. I mean, the first reason is that if we can stop voters from being fooled into voting for bad propositions or from voting against good propositions, that will make all the difference in the world. Let me give you some examples of the importance in the policy here in California. How many of you know that California is the only oil-producing state in the country that does not have an oil severance tax? That's right. It's crazy. Texas, Alaska, they all have huge oil severance taxes. California is the only one that doesn't. Why is that? Oil companies, right? There actually was a proposition in 2006, Prop 87, that would have provided an oil severance tax. Some of you may remember that. Some of you may even worked on on that campaign. It would have provided extra money for clean energy investments. It was overwhelmingly popular in the polls with the voters. And then, of course, the tens of millions of dollars of ads by a group called Californians Against Higher Taxes came against it, and it ended up losing. And that was, of course, Chevron, Aria Energy, and Occidental Oil and Gas. That's what the voters would have seen if the Disclose Act was in place. I guarantee you, we would have had an oil severance tax if that was in place. Prescription drug discounts, supported by consumer groups, were put on the ballot in 2005, Prop 79. Also overwhelmingly popular in the polls. Nobody can afford prescription drugs in California. They're so crazily expensive. This proposition would have really changed that. Overwhelmingly supported by all the consumer groups. Flooded with $123 million by a group called Californians Against Out-of-Control Taxes and Spending. And it was, of course, GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, and Pfizer. Do you think that might have made a difference? Might we be more likely to have lower prescription drug costs here in California if there was a California Disclose Act? Absolutely. So those are the sorts of examples that we have. And we also, if we have a Disclose Act passed, if we have SB 52 passed, then we'll have politicians who don't have to be afraid that they're going to be attacked anonymously by secretive groups, because people will know where that money's coming from. They won't be beholden to them. People won't be fooled into voting for bad politicians who are supported by these big money special interests. So for all those reasons, the Disclose Act in itself is super important. But it's also going to be super important as one of the 3 steps in overturning Citizens United and big money in politics. Because when people see all those ads that they're deluged with, time after time, they see the same corporations and billionaires paying for all those ads they're disclosed with, they are going to get even more disgusted and more aware and more demanding that we change Citizens United and overturn the effects of big money in politics. So it's a key step. We need the Disclose Act. It's a first step to do it. I urge you to help volunteer. Then we work for public financing and overturning the amendment so we have a government that's of, by, and for the people. Thank you very much. Join us, sign those petitions, and help us volunteer. It's the only way we'll get it passed.